we're ready.
All right, so we are recording and ready to go. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. I have two computers, so I'm like, which computer is my camera? I have to look into the camera. Thank you for joining us tonight for this. Cultural Conversations is our effort to engage the community in all things artistic with a goal to inspire greater participation in and passion for the arts in our community. Through Cultural Conversations, we intend to provide interesting and evocative dialogue designed around P.L.A.C.E, which is people, land, arts, culture, and engagement. If you have questions, we can put those in the chat box and I'll ask the panelists the questions at the end of the session, and we're also recording it so you can share it afterwards with people who are unable to join us. And I'm proud to start off by introducing our series sponsor tonight, PNC Arts Alive. Representing them this evening is Tracy Sorzano, Senior Vice President and Market Leader for Florida East PNC Wealth Management. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be joining you tonight. We at PNC are excited once again to be a sponsor of the Arts Council of Martin County and Cultural Conversations. PNC has a long history of partnering with local organizations that strengthen and enhance our communities. We know what art can do, how it changes perspectives, and even how it changes lives. From classical music and fine art to dance and theater, we also understand that a rich arts community is a significant driver of South Florida's economic success. And we're committed to keeping the $4 billion arts and culture industry alive in Florida by funding quality programming through PNC Arts Alive, one of our signature grant-making programs. PNC has pledged over $1 million to area organizations and supported 44 programs since launching this initiative in Southeast Florida in 2016. With the unanticipated impact of the pandemic on live performances and gatherings, the support we give to the arts in our community is more important than ever. PNC is delighted to partner with organizations like the Arts Council of Martin County as they bring their programming to the community in a virtual format and continue their mission of enriching the lives of residents and visitors alike by showcasing the creativity, talent, and passion of our local artists. Thank you again for letting PNC be a part of this program. And tonight I have a chance to bring Nancy back as our facilitator. But first I'll tell you a little bit about her. Nancy has served as the Executive Director of the Arts Council since April 1st, 1999. And she just celebrated a work anniversary last week. Congratulations. In that role, she has overseen a wide variety of projects that benefit the arts community, including creating a women's giving circle for the arts called Women Supporting the Arts, launching an innovative eco-art apprenticeship program, and implementing economic impact studies. This past year, she's led the way to create an artist relief fund, providing some financial support to local artists who are suffering income losses due to COVID-19. She currently manages both the Arts Council of Martin County and the Arts Foundation for Martin County, and has hopes to guide the organizations through the acquisition of the historic Stewart High School to make it a cultural center for our community. And she has served as an appointed member of the Florida Council on Arts and Culture for the past 2 years. So please welcome Nancy Terrell for our panel discussion on public art.
Woo! Yay, Nancy! Woo!
Well, thank you, Tracy, and thank you all panelists for that applause. You know, I think everyone here knows I do what I do because I love what we do and what art means to our community. So I'm happy to be here and to facilitate this conversation about public art because it is one of the most accessible portions of our arts community. You don't have to make any specific, purchase any ticket or spend any money to see public art. And that's one of the things that makes it such an equitable part of our overall arts community. Tonight, I'll have a couple of different questions for each of our panelists to bring to this discussion. And we'll approach it from each of their own points of view, which is really what we're here to do, stimulate thought and conversation around the topics of arts and culture. Before I introduce our panels, I do have a few slides to show you about public art. I've been sharing this one about why public art here in the beginning, about the value that cities gain through having public art, both culturally, socially, and economically. And it's a part of community pride. And as I mentioned earlier, public art is freely accessible to all. I thought it would be interesting for our viewers to just know that there's 2 public art programs in the Martin County community. One is in Martin County, and that is government sponsored. It's the county's Art and Public Places program, and Susan Corris, who's one of our panelists, manages this program. And the public art that's purchased through the county's public art program is county generated revenue buying art for specific public locations. The city's public art program, however, is a requirement of developers in the city of Stewart's CRA. And so it's private dollars being invested in public art in locations, and that is approved through the city government process, but the revenue is coming from the developers themselves. And there's a requirement for those developers to maintain and upkeep those public art installations throughout the city of Stewart. So those are the sort of 2 formal programs we have. There's some other things that the city of Stewart does to incentivize public art. And you may hear more about that as we talk tonight, because they do have a mural program, and you can see one of the murals that was placed on the wall recently in downtown Stewart. And then Duncan, one of our panelists, also participated in that program. So you'll hear a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as the panelists talk. So our panel members, one of them is pictured here on Duncan's mural. So we've got two people covered in this one. So first of all, I'd like to tell you that we have 3-time Artist Hall of Fame nominated artist, famous in Stewart for creating the Stewart sailfish and many of the bronze sculptures around Martin County. His lotus sculpture, Rise Above, was given from the President of the United States to Pope Francis. It is on display at the Vatican in Rome. He has an eagle sculpture in Bush Senior's Presidential Library. He has artworks in museums as well as important public and private collections. So I am pleased to say that we have Stewart resident, Mr. Geoffrey C. Smith, as one of our panelists tonight. The other artist on our panel is sculptor and muralist Nadia Utto. And according to Nadia, the well-lived life is a creative one filled with inspired choices and imaginative action. In 2009, believing that it is equally important to share one's unique spirit with the community in a meaningful way, she channeled this motivation into starting Hobe Sound's Mural project. And along the way, this concept of an outdoor gallery of painted walls evolved into the not-for-profit Landmark Arts with its mission of creating community culture. So you'll hear more about Nadia as well. So those are our 2 artists on the panel. And then we have Susan Corris, who I mentioned briefly a moment ago, serves as the Director of Community Development for Martin County. So in addition to her work managing the CRAs for the county, which are community revitalization areas, she also manages Martin County's Art and Public Places program. The Art and Public Places program recently secured the purchase of the Gary Gresco sculptures located around Gazebo Park in the city of Stewart and commissioned Magnify, an installation by Kirk Sees at the Cummings Library in Palm City. And it's what you see in my background are those new sculptures. And finally, our other 4th panelist tonight, along with his wife, Pam, Duncan Hurd owns the Gilt complex, a custom frame shop on Colorado Avenue in downtown Stewart. They have a wide selection of styles to choose from, including hand-carved gold leaf finished corner frames. They're known for the quality of their craftsmanship, their design skills, and their expert service. Duncan also happens to serve on the board for the Arts Foundation for Martin County. So welcome to the 4 of you tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nance.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you for having us.
And we are going to launch right in with a question for the artists on our panel. And it is this, and I've put it on this slide as well. Artists bring personal and distinctive interpretations to each project. The public artist is a social and civic leader, advocating through art for alternative perspectives that sometimes can change assumptions, beliefs, and community values. How has your work done that? And I'd like to start with Nadia. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I put together a slide with your Common Ground project here too for inspiration.
Well, I'll feel like I'll have deserved any accolades should I get that project accomplished. At the moment, it's all an idea, and it's actually 10 years in the making. It's, to be honest, my biggest professional disappointment that I haven't accomplished it yet. So it is one of the built-in problems of trying to do some public art with the handshake that it does take with the many people on when you're doing a larger scale piece. But years ago, I applied for one of the 3,000 pieces of the World Trade Towers and received it, not as an individual, but with the Chamber of Commerce. And we're looking to find the proper siting in Martin County, and are intending to do a Buckminster Fuller designed Dymaxion map, which shows that the continents are all really contiguous and not separate like we all have been raised to believe in a Mercator map design from grade school. And the point being, when the world doesn't get along, things like that happen, and this artifact would be placed at the point. But for me, the most engaging aspect of this potential public art plaza would be that there would be a stone embedded from all 195 sovereign nations on the planet. And I'm at 165 right now that I've collected from around the world, including a meteorite and something from the bottom of the Pacific Rim, and have a one from the moon coming too, according to NASA. And I'm very excited about the possibility to have a world-class art piece where you can stand in one place and touch something from everywhere in the world, which doesn't exist yet in any art piece anywhere in the world. And even though the Smithsonian may have something from everywhere in the world, it could be in building 19, it could be on the third floor, it could be in a drawer, it could be somewhere. And I hope to bring this to fruition, and we can just, maybe I can respond more about it when we get to talking about what are the issues of making something come to fruition as a private citizen or individual artist. Anyway, that's that. But on the success side, I have brought the Hope Sound Murals project from concept to 25 murals to date. So that's been an easier path, actually, than a concrete piece. And I think I veered from your question. I just stare at the image and I get all passionate from the beginning. But I've had architects and mechanical and civil engineers all contribute to the design, and not to mention Buckminster Fuller's concept of the world map in this configuration.
Thank you. I appreciate all of that. And I think, you know, this world unity that's demonstrated through this conceptual piece would be an amazing addition to our community. So we'll keep working.
COVID has certainly shown us that we are all interconnected. It wasn't just the 9/11 event that spiraled the world into reminding us of that, but COVID certainly has repeated that reminder that we are very interconnected, and it's worthy. One of the highest goals one can achieve in the arts is to be addressing these major issues of what it is to be human.
Right, absolutely. So Geoffrey, your thoughts on about how your art that's out there in the public either challenges or supports certain assumptions in our community and what we value?
Well, not to digress from Nadia's, I'm going to take the stance of what it is not to be human. You know, my work's all about, it is about humans too, but the animals. When I look at the Florida oceanographic piece, just last night we had an old, I've never seen this old a sea turtle in the water by our dock. He's skinny. I mean, I think he came into the estuary to die. And, you know, very sad. But you know, we take care of the animals, and you know, they're a very important part of our ecosystem and our healthy environment for humans, just as much as COVID has messed everything up. You know, we all got to work together, and the public art is, I think, so important to get people to slow down, think, and realize what's around us. To me, I don't think of it as a social or political statement because it's kind of the life I live. But to other people, I've had people in the gallery saying, "Oh, I've never seen a kingfisher." It's like you can't travel, you can't get anywhere in Stewart without seeing multiple kingfishers. But if you don't know what one is, you know, it's kind of sad. So I think a lot of what my art does is educate people to what's around us and what people may or may not be able to see.
Very true. And having seen some of our local wildlife over the last couple of days, it's important that we can get out there and experience the nature. So thank you for bringing it to the people who can't get out there and do it, Geoffrey. Now the next question is for both Susan and Duncan. And these are long-winded questions. I apologize for that, but I will read it. Public art activates the imagination and encourages people to pay attention and perceive more deeply the environment they occupy. I think that speaks to what Geoffrey was just talking about. Public art stimulates learning and thought about art and society, about our interconnected lives, and about the whole social sphere, or the social sphere as a whole. In your opinion, and Susan and Duncan, this is yours, how has the work you've commissioned affected our community? And seeing as I have the mural that Duncan commissioned up on the screen, Duncan, would you mind going first?
I'd love to. Let me give you a little background about this piece. At its center is a artist manifesto, so to speak. We are makers. It was developed by colleagues of ours at Roma Molding, a molding company that is based out of Canada and operates worldwide. And they showed this at one of the trade shows in their booth. And the minute I saw it, I walked up to the president and said, "Can I borrow this or can I use it?" Because I was aware of the mural program that was developing in downtown Stewart. The Potsdam mural had already been put up, and I thought, I instantly knew what I wanted to do with it. And I wanted to make it not only an artist manifesto, but an homage to the local artists in the community. And we chose a painter, a sculptor, you see Geoffrey there, along with Chris Kling. And on the other side, what you don't see here is a musician and a chef, because I'm very much in line with the Arts Council's conception of art, that it includes the culinary arts. And we wanted to include the musician as well. So it's as if they represent various artists throughout the community. We had to pick somebody to do this. And it's become, interestingly to me, it's become a bit of a tourist attraction. We have folks coming up to it all the time, reading it, taking photos of it. There have been photo shoots in front of it, fashion shoots. And I noticed one guy recording a song that he was playing, and he was positioned right in front of Ron Corbin. So I don't know, I was imagining maybe that was a former student of his and he wanted to send him some sort of video. I don't know, but we have people come to see this all the time, and I'm very thankful that the city approved it. It's not, as you can see, it's not a work of art as in a painting. It's more, as I say, an homage to all artists and crafts people and creators. So it's been a wonderful project. We had the good fortune of completing it 1 week before we were shut down last year. So we never did have a grand opening.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But you know, life goes on, and we're still very proud of it.
a great addition to the downtown.
And you're asking how has it affected the community? All I would say is in the ways I've described, that people, I don't know how, but they know about it and they come view it all the time. And if you haven't seen it yet, you must come by.
That's great. Susan, your thoughts on commissioning and the effect on our community?
So good evening, everyone. Susan Corres with Martin County. I'm probably going to give you the most bureaucratic and least artistic answer to that question. But I think you probably already expected that. Anyway, I haven't been around long enough to have commissioned too many things. So when I was thinking about the question, Nancy, and how has it affected whatever we've done affected the community, I came up with really 3 things that I think are important. And I think what they've done is pretty much what we've done so far in the 4 years that I've been doing this here in Martin County, is I think we're getting people to pay attention again to public art. And I think that's sort of been missing, at least from the county end. I don't know that we've encouraged that as much as I would like to see that encouraged. So that's the things that we've been working on. And so the 3 things that really I think have affected the community in that sense is we have a very aggressive maintenance and repair program. I told you this was not artistic, guys. Okay, I'm probably the furthest from the artist that is on the panel. But it's really important that, to me, that if you have an inventory of artwork that people have put their love and creativity into and is out there in the community, if this isn't taken care of properly, showcased properly, it kind of gives the impression that we don't care about public art. And that's exactly the opposite, I think, message that we want to send to the community. So we've got everything on a schedule now. Everything's been refreshed, if you will. Matter of fact, I just talked to Nadia recently about the 3 years has come around for her murals at Sailfish Splash, which are so gorgeous. I don't want them to be to the point where, people are saying, oh, that doesn't, no, we want to have the right rotation. We want to have the funding put aside. So we've done that. I've also secured a steady stream of funding for our program. I'm real proud of that. We don't use private funds, unfortunately, to fund public art in the county. We do it by percentage of things the county builds. So being that the county builds not a lot, and when it does, it often uses bond proceeds, which are not part of the program. It was very difficult for me to figure out how to continue to have a program if, we never had any new funds coming in. So I'm pleased about that. And we're lucky to have a Board of County Commissioners that agreed with that understood, the importance of it. And then the third thing is an actual commission, if you will. It's the purchase of 5, I call it the family of 5, big sculptures that we put down in Gazebo Park in January. We had our opening. They're 5 sculptures that are made of cement, steel, aluminum. They're done by an artist, Gary Gresco, who's done lots of public installations throughout the country. And I love them because they're just contemporary. They're not like anything you see in the county. And I've gotten lots of, thoughts about them, negative and positive, which I love because it's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to make you stop and look. It's supposed to do all of those things. So really proud of being able to bring something like that to the county that's different, that's fun, that's colorful, right into downtown Stewart. So that's it for me.
Thank you. And they have brought new color to downtown Stewart.
That's right. That's right. They're Nancy's neighbors.
And I'm going to let Susan keep talking. One of the things I asked all the panelists to do was to name and send me some photographs of some favorite pieces of public art they've seen in their travels. And so Susan, I have you up first here
Okay.
to talk about
So,
yours.
I'm gonna go with two themes here. One is I'm from New York, and the other is I'm Italian. So I'll admit it to that. So now I'll tell you why I love these two. So one of my favorite public art installations of all times is called Strawberry Fields, and it's a living tribute to singer-songwriter John Lennon, and it is in Central Park. It gives me all kinds of feelings when I go there, happy, hopeful, but it also makes me sad. And it's kind of this like light feeling tinged with this little bit of tragedy. So it always evokes interesting feelings for me. And I think it's great public art because it encompasses so many different things, most of which you can't see, but a little bit you can see in these photos. You know, it's also a landscape architect project. So it has these gorgeous American elms that are kind of all around it. And again, you can't see here, but then it has this total contrast of huge glass and metal skyscrapers. And I love that those two things sort of totally work together, you know, in that realm. It's simple, but it's complex at the same time. That's how it always makes me think. It's in one of the park's designated quiet zones. If you didn't know that, Central Park does have a few of those, yet it's in the middle of New York City. So again, it's that contrast for me. The mosaic is actually an Italian mosaic, and it's done by an Italian artist, and it has the words "Imagine" in the middle, which of course is John Lennon's probably most famous song. And the other thing I love about this, and think why public art, it's like such a cool thing, is that it produces its own art. So for 30 years since it's been there, or 40 years since it's been there, you can see on the mosaic itself, people are constantly making more art on it. And it's very often in the form of a peace sign. I don't know that this one is particularly, but lots of floral stuff, lots of candle art, lots of additional mosaic people put on it. I mean, it's just the coolest stuff, and it's constant. So it's ever changing. And I always, you know, really loved that about it. And then just the fact that it is a place that draws people. So it's a gathering place. You know, if you go there, people are singing and they're walking around. And as you can see, this lovely couple, that's what I love about it. It draws people for every kind of reason you can think of, to commemorate, to celebrate, to, you know, mourn, to get married, you know, all of those things. So the second one that I'll talk about real briefly is my Italian side. So I have lived in Italy, and this is like the open air museum of Florence. It's called Piazza della Signoria. It's in Florence, Italy. So you can start with the architecture, which is superb. It has a palace. I mean, don't you want to have a palace now? I mean, to me, this is like, I mean, it's so big, it's so powerful, it's so extra. And part of me really, really loves that it's the jackpot of public art. It is everywhere you look and stand, there's got to be, I don't know, something like 15 sculptures, and they're not small. So for example, David, he's 17 feet tall. There's the Fountain of Neptune, which is something like 20 feet diameter, with, you know, 5 large sculptures and this set of horses. Like, you think they're going to just jump out of the fountain right into your lap. You know, they're amazing. So for me, this is like big bang for your buck. I love sculpture. I love architecture. So the thought that people just live here and they just walk by this every day, this is like, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and this is what I walk now. I mean, it's just unimaginable to me. I did it for 9 months and I just thought, how lucky, you know, this is the bonanza. You know, this is kind of it. So this was one of my first, I guess, real public art, and you can talk about the artists as well. Michelangelo, Donatello, Bartolomeo. I mean, there's like everybody's there, and some of the greatest, in my opinion, works of art. So those are my two, I would say, very favorites for very different reasons.
Thank you. And they are spanning the world, which I love. Geoffrey.
All right. Well, the sailfish, that was my first big sculpture, and it was quite a challenge. When the circle was being built, the Downtown Business Association came to my studio, and we have a big commission for you. We'd like you to make a big sailfish. But they had no money. And they thought we could, the new marina was just going in where Sailor's Return is. And they thought they could have there was weekly concerts in the evening, on the weekends, and they thought they could sell t-shirts. And I thought, well, we're gonna all be pretty old before we get that sailfish done. So not really knowing what to do, I just went around to everybody I knew and said, hey, we have an opportunity put a big sailfish downtown. And everybody I spoke with over the next week was very positive. And there was the light tackle tournament, sailfish tournament was going on, and I was down at Sailfish Marina, and that went on for a couple of nights. And I talked to everybody one night about it. Then the next night, Ed Sellian came back and said, Geoffrey, I'll do it. And I'm like, he'll make a donation. He goes, I'll pay for the whole thing.
Oh.
So I was cheated out of all the fundraising stuff, the ins and outs, it was, so we got that done. And the rest is, it was what it's become, and how Stewart has, it's just, I could not have imagined how powerful that piece would become in the identity of Stewart. One day, randomly, I was at Peter's Hardware. This was a few years ago in Palm City. And the proprietor, Peter, I introduced myself, and then he went nuts. He goes, I moved to Stewart because of that fish. He goes, any town that would have that in their center of town, that's where I want to live. So
can we ask a question?
Yeah.
Can we ask a question? I was interested, Jeff, in did you design the whole thing, the fountain, the way it sits? Did you do all of that design? Because it's just magnificent. And I know that I think that adds to the specialness of the sculpture. And I was just wondering if you do that, or does someone else do that?
No, I had some input, but no, the engineers and everything, I think, figured the size and all that stuff. And then we got, I believe, the fountain people for the water, and there's a lot of different people involved, but no, that's a little out of my expertise.
Yeah, it's very, very beautiful.
So it's just awesome just to drive downtown and see it. And in the beginning, though, whenever the water was off or anything was wrong, my cell phone would blow up. People would have to tell me so that I could get it fixed. Which anyway, that doesn't happen so much anymore. But it's all good, and I hope everybody loves it. And I tying back Stewart to the ocean, to the river. I think that fishes and all the boat builders. I mean, the sailfish is an integral part of Stewart's economy, as well as its psyche. The other sculpture we have up on here is jugs. and that's Lady Abundance. And what I thought's interesting about her is how perceptions and things have changed, because it's a fabulous sculpture. Unfortunately, I could find little information about the artist, and I'll probably pronounce her name wrong. Kanolai Maya. She lived in 1883 to 1968. But that sculpture was cast in the same foundry that Rodin used, Alexander Roder foundry in Paris, which to me makes it a very important and significant piece, just that fact alone.
Yeah.
And, you know, to what you were saying, Susan, is people have no idea that sculptures need maintenance and preventative maintenance and to be taken care of. Lady Abundance, you know, I mean, they had a guy hosed her down and painted her brown. I mean, it was almost criminal. So taking care of these sculptures is huge. And it's just like our houses and our cars. You don't wash them, wax them, take care of them. You know, the sun decays them. So that is a big part of public art, is, you know, keeping them looking good. That anyway, so Lady Abundance was, I think, it was in the 1929, or it was built in 1925, created. But I think it was in 1940, the Women's Club, 1941, after the World's Fair in New York, the Women's Club of Stuart acquired the piece, and they brought it to Stuart, and it was too shocking to be in public. So it was put behind the courthouse or something, and there's all kinds of stories about that I'm sure Nancy could elaborate on. But it wasn't until, I think, the 1990 with the revitalization, must be the COVID, of downtown, that they brought her out, and she's where she sits today. And it's a beautiful, beautiful statue. But it went from, I mean, I don't think anybody gives her a second thought, but to think that it wasn't that long ago that was something that couldn't be seen in public, I think is very, very interesting. And that's a beautiful sculpture. And besides those two, I have 14 other ones scattered around town that people can look at. So.
And they make downtown Stuart a really wonderful place. So we're happy they are all there. Nadia sent me a ton of pictures, and I would love for her to talk about these two. I couldn't put all the pictures in the slide, but.
Well, you know, it's a very hard thing to choose just a.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I had several different pairings lined up, and then in the end just sort of went with a gut instinct. And clearly all of us can be so conversational about art and our art and public art because we are so passionate about it. It is one of the few things in life where every single exemplary adjective can be used. You know, you talk like that in the field of medicine necessarily, or even science, or but in art, really, there is no end to the vocabulary and in the inspiration and the reasoning for it. And the whole topic for today, why public art, could be really a week-long symposium.
Yeah.
Because everybody is, educated just to be a citizen and to do what you need to do and know what you need to know. But the arts are the one thing that show you that there's a road beyond the curve that you can't see. And that's why it's so important to have it in a public space. You know, when you pass a hospital, there's stuff going on in there. And you know, when you pass a school, there's learning going on in there. But unless you have the arts, you are not showing the community that there's inspiration, that there's creativity, that there's passion, that there's really a person involved in change and behind it. Anyways, it's what I bring, I think, to it, not necessarily my own personal style in my sculptures or in my murals, but it's that just genuine joy of celebrating creativity in life, because without it, you're not good in relationships or in business or anything if you can't be creative and flexible. And so Mona Karen's dandelion, she paints gigantic plants all around in major cities and a lot in South America. And I love this dandelion one particularly because rather than looking at 17 floors of nothingness, you're looking at a weed that has been elevated into like the most precious rose. And she takes the dandelion seed and has it blown all around this building. So it's in different, like if you're around the corner, there'll be another dandelion seed floating in another different direction until you get to the mother plant. So I think she's done a wonderful job of showing what it is to be a person in an urban setting, that you can grow where you are planted, you can flourish there. And even the lowly dandelion is a thing of majesty. And you know, it's a wonderful thing that we can build 17 or 110 story buildings, but without some kind of sense of something like Susan was referring to in Italy, it is absolutely inhumane, and it's kind of a cruel thing to walk on the back of a Winn-Dixie Plaza. It's just not meant for human perspective and dimension. And so that's what Europe has got correct. And in my own European history has very much informed me for that. There's no such thing as a blank impersonal wall.
Right.
Anyway, Mona Karen is great about that. And it is the reason why I started the Hobe Sound Murals project, because Hobe Sound has some charm, but it'll never have not yet, a statue by Geoffrey. It won't have lyric theater. It won't have the access to the water. There's a lot of things that it just won't have. And to create a sense of place there, I thought that that was one way to go about it, was to connect our business corridors with the murals. And just like Duncan says, unexpectedly, a lot of people come to see these things, not just the Instagram crew that wants to take a picture of themselves or Facebook it or do the selfie, but it's a destination. I mean, that's what people do in Europe. They go from one fountain down to the arch, and then back around the cobblestone road to the bridge. And you have to have somewhere to go to. And murals create that kind of anchoring, I think. We have 25 of them. I'm working on number 25 now with the guest artists from West Palm Beach. So I think they're really great. And I, Duncan, like you, did not know how many people were out there actually doing that. I'm talking big about the selfies, but I had somebody once photographing one of the works when I was going by it. And I said, "Oh, that's so great that you're taking a picture of it." She goes, "Oh no, I'm claiming it for Ingress." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And there's an international game called Ingress that you have to be a member to play. And it's around public art. And there's two teams, a blue-green team and a green team. And they capture like the glass pyramid at Louvre, or they'll capture the Statue of Liberty. And so the next day when the other team finds out that the other team has captured it as part of their zone, they have to go recapture it, which you can only do by photographing it. And so that goes on at 2 a.m. sometimes, and even in Hobe Sound. Anyways, that's a total aside. And then my other absolute favorite, which I would like for our Common Ground project to possibly begin to achieve is the Crown Fountain in Chicago, which is just an awesome piece of public art. It is so many things. It is magnificent in its scale. It's incredibly personal in that there's 1,000 faces of Chicagoans that come and go. And I've never seen it personally. I've just stared at and scrolled at photo after photo after photo. And you can see how there's hundreds of people there, and there's pictures of it in the winter where there's just 2 people. And that feeling that you can walk on water because it's just 1/8 of an inch of water there. And there's not the restrictions, don't go in with your shoes, or you can't take your shoes off, or only children under 10 with only somebody 17 or older holding their hand, or I don't know. It just seems like a very free public space that is enjoyed in the way that an Italian piazza is. People are coming and going and crisscrossing and sitting and having a sandwich or their cup of coffee or whatever. And it just is, I think it's a magnificent design that took care of every single element. It's beautiful at night, beautiful in the winter, beautiful in the day, every conceivable weather. It's situated, and I love it. Absolutely.
And that whole
Agreed.
park that it's situated, Millennium Park in Chicago, is an inspirational public space, period. It's got this, it's got, you can see back here, this sort of white netting is actually sound system for a state performing arts stage they have here. The Institute of Art is just around the corner. The
beam.
Cloud Gate is in that same park. So this is an inspirational
Nadia, what city is
model.
the dandelion?
Actually, offhand, I don't know. One of her original ones is in Switzerland. She is originally from Swiss, but is based in San Francisco and does these all over the world.
It's just fantastic. I've never seen it. It's fantastic.
I almost hesitated to show it because I kind of really want to do a big flower somewhere in Hobe.
I love it. I think you should.
2 stories high. Yeah, I think she has, and she does also historical murals and creating a sense of place. And that's what it is. All of this is in an effort to create a sense of place and allow people to be connected to that sense of place and encourage them to have ownership of it, is a big phrase from the
We
gate.
have to find you a 4-story building.
Yeah. I don't think Martin County lets you build too high, but
4 stories, that's it. So that's as high as we can go, and I think it's
a spreading weed of some kind.
right.
And I have Duncan up next, and he shared with me some amazing murals from all over St. Croix, right, Duncan?
Anyone who knows me for more than 5 minutes knows that I grew up on St. Croix. And there's a lot going on down there with the arts. It's similar to Stewart and Martin County in that way. And these are a group of murals. Most of them are a group of murals by a group called Artists for Oceans. And it was a project a couple of years ago that
Wow.
wanted to talk about marine environmental issues and how those issues affect the local community. Of course, St. Croix is an island, and we're all very conscious of the water. Beyond that, St. Croix has about 100 murals throughout the island. I mean, there are murals on water tanks. There are a lot of ruins on St. Croix, and the side of a ruin will have a mural on it of one form or another. The one on the lower left are Moko Jumbis, which is a part of the carnival experience throughout the West Indies, but particularly in the Virgin Islands. And there's an historical mural on the upper right. And I just am drawn to this aspect of public art, where it's just a painting there for you to see almost serendipitously.
Yeah.
And then it can speak to you in whatever form you like. I can't go as eloquently as the artists on the panel to speak about each one of these, but because I have the soft spot for St. Croix as my home.
It's just a coat of paint, but it just does magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I couldn't let this part of today's talk go without sharing some of my favorite pieces. It's like, well, that's not fair. I have to share something. And these 2 sculptures are at the top of the slide. And to me, public art is all about placemaking. It's about making something memorable. And when you leave the place, you're only a visitor there. It's something that sticks in your head and will always remind you of that place. So these 2 sculptures, this is literally kayaks, making up this one sculpture. And the other one, these fish move in the wind. And they're both in Bend, Oregon. And Bend has a huge art in circles, traffic circles program. And you can, on their tourism website, you can follow the trail and go visit all the public art sculpture installations in their traffic circles. And I can't get those out of my head from a visit a couple of years ago about how much they said about Bend as a place and Oregon as a place. And then the bottom ones are a little fuzzy, but there is this amazing walkway of glass stretching over a highway. It's a pedestrian overpass in state of Washington, and it's all Chihuly glass. And it's just, again, it's where Chihuly has his factory and his such a huge glass culture there. You know, it just says we care about this here. And I think really at some level, that's what public art does, is we care about, it says we care about art in this community, and whatever that art is what is shown. So these two things really speak to me.
Love those.
So we have just a few minutes left. I have two more questions, but I'm not going to ask them both because we did promise to keep this overall presentation to an hour. So I really think the last, just to sum it up, if I could ask each of you as panelists to say, you know, in 15 or 20 seconds, why does public art matter, and share that, that would be terrific. And Geoffrey, you want to start?
You bet. First, everybody who's watching, public art already matters to them. So the trick is to get outside of preaching to the choir and bring art into people who don't know they like art, or however, you know, during the pandemic, I made huge fish out of palm fronds in the parking lot. Then they ended up going to the dumpster, but it stopped traffic. It was mentioned at county commission meetings. Everybody had a ball with it. And it was because I saw a bunch of palm fronds in the parking lot of the studio one day and got creative. And we're all artists. And we need art, and trying to introduce somebody who's not into art and take them around. There's maps of everything, of all the art around town. It's fabulous. Get involved, be engaged, or bring somebody else in who's not, you know, share it with them. Bring them to the Arts Council, bring them to Duncan's gallery, bring them to my gallery, you know, and everywhere in between. I think that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Nadia.
Well, the question, why does public art matter, is almost right up there with why is good health important? If you don't have it, you notice it immediately. If you, in one fell swoop, removed every mural, every sculpture, every statue, every creative waymarking sign or sense of place, there would be nothing. It is one of the great sufferings of this last year that people have been missing music, art, theater. And without the public art or a wonderful park to go to, I think we would all been doomed. Public art is so important because it is a celebration of the best that the human can come up with. It's the creativity, it's the crossroad of the best of arts and science and mind and emotion and humanity. And it must be celebrated, and it must be shown to be as equally important as a stop sign and other very banal aspects of being a citizen in a well-functioning society. You have to have creativity for a well-functioning society too. So public art is extremely important. I think we would be impoverished without it.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's so true. Duncan.
What matters to me about public art is the public. It's quite easy for each of us as individuals to go to a gallery or into an artist studio and find something that speaks to us, and we purchase it and we take it home and it's ours. But this is a way for the artist to share their art with everybody. And you get to experience their imagination and their creativity and the beauty they bring into the world in a way that is not possible with all the other private purchases of art. And as others have said previously, it just adds to a sense of place and space. And I can't imagine being somewhere like without it. I just can't.
Yep.
So true. Susan, your final words here on public art.
Final words of wisdom, I guess, huh? So I think that public art matters because we already live within art, if you will. We have sunsets, we have sunrises, we have landscape, we have blue skies. I think that our creator made those things to get us to match them, or to try to match them, to add to them, to complement them. So I have what I think about public art is that it takes you out of the mundane. It makes you think, it makes you feel, it makes you curious. And one of my very favorite quotes I will leave you guys with is a Picasso quote, and I have it up on my board and I look at it every single day, and it says, "Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life." And that's what it does for me.
Absolutely. That's terrific inspiration on a daily basis, for
Yeah.
sure. Tracy, I will invite you. I'm catching you off guard with this, but if you would like to weigh in on this particular question, I'd love to hear your thoughts too.
I agree with what everybody has said. I mean, it's just an opportunity in the community to just see things in a different way, to see different perspectives, the artist sharing that with the world. I really like that. Susan, I love your quote. I need to write that down. That's
It's a great one,
quote.
I know.
It made me
on a
just think
card.
about it made me think, oh, the day's over. This is a great way to end it. So
Well, terrific. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. You all inspire me. Our community is so much the better off and lucky to have each of you in it, doing work that you're doing, caretaking, advocating, and making art and making this community richer for the contributions that you each have made towards it. So I thank you for that. And perhaps we'll repeat a similar topic and continue to explore, the value and how, our community can better support public art to make sure that there's even more of it in it. So we may have to bring back a part 2 at a later date. But again, thank you so much. And we're so happy that you all agreed to be panelists. And for those who are listening, thank you for being a part of Cultural Conversations. Our series ends next month. We'll be talking about historic spaces and what makes a building not just old, but historic. And Nikki Norton, who's a local architect and chair of the Martin County's Historic Preservation Board, is going to facilitate that conversation. And we'll have panelists with their point of views about that scheduled to be here on I believe it's May 4th. It's the first Tuesday of May. So we'll see you then. And thank you again so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank
to be in
you.
your company.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, Nadia, Duncan.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening. Thank you.